I know I'm not very popular in Philadelphia because when you do these jobs, you end up talking about the best teams and the best quarterbacks and the best coaches, and anything short of it's the greatest I've ever seen is apparently blasphemous. And Eagles fans are awesome, right? You're insane. You're passionate. You defend your guy. You should. Everyone's playing the correct role here. But I just look at this and I ask, what is enough? Because here's everything I've said publicly and will say again about Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. They are the best organization in the NFL with the best offensive line in the NFL, with the best running back in the NFL, with a top 3 wide receiver duo in the NFL, with a top 3 defensive tackle in the NFL, with a top linebacker and a top young secondary and a top general manager. Do I also have to believe that you have a top 5 quarterback? Like, do I also have to believe that Nick Sirianni is the best coach in the NFL? It's like nothing, no amount of praise is enough. Because I think Jalen Hurts is the 10th best quarterback in the NFL, who is clutch, is a great leader, and is unbelievably smart. Jalen Hurts having 9 different play callers over 9 years, spanning back to college, speaks incredibly highly to his football character and his football intelligence. Jalen Hurts playing not 1, but 2 not good, but great Super Bowls obviously is incredibly valuable. Like that, no one would deny any of it. Clutch, smart, leader. But I also think it's totally reasonable to say that the guy who was 22nd in the NFL in pass attempts last year is propped up by the system in which he plays in and the guys around him. And by the way, anybody would be. If you got to throw to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and be protected by Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, that's pretty good. Anybody would want to be in that situation. Patrick Mahomes would want to be in that situation. Josh Allen would want to be in that situation. Lamar Jackson, anybody in the league would want to be in that situation. And the Eagles could have Carson Wentz on the verge of being an MVP. Now he's a backup in the league. He gets hurt, and Nick Foles wins a Super Bowl. Like, they were in a Super Bowl with a different coach and a different quarterback and then a different quarterback and then a different coach, and now it's Jalen Hurts again. Like, it's an unbelievable organization. I would argue the best organization. But for some reason, the pushback then becomes, oh, so you're saying you'd rather Jalen Hurts throw for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns than just win? Not if I'm an Eagles fan. Obviously not. But if I'm evaluating a quarterback, then yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. The primary job of the quarterback is to throw the ball. You would say, no, it's to win. No, it isn't. Winning is a team concept. Quarterback wins are not a quarterback stat. But if you want to make it a quarterback stat, I'm your Huckleberry. Let's play the game. Let's show the company that Jalen Hurts keeps among winners and then the amount of passing touchdowns that they have. Because he wins, including the playoffs, since 2021 at a clip higher than Lamar, higher than Allen, lower than Mahomes. He wins at a clip second best in the NFL. But for passing touchdowns, for those guys at that clip, Lamar Jackson, 105. Josh Allen, 148. Patrick Mahomes, 160. Jalen Hurts, 89. And then he's got a ton of rushing touchdowns from the 1 yard line. And so then you say, well, Danny, no one's saying that he's better than Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. Okay. But there is what he does to contribute to the winning. And again, leader, smart, clutch, durable, all incredibly valuable things. But a general manager once said, his job is summed up very simply. It's very difficult to do, but it's summed up simply. Evaluate the individual within the concept of the team. Like if you're the best deep ball wide receiver, but you've got a quarterback with a noodle arm, tough to really prove it. Or if you're the best deep ball receiver, but you got an offensive line that can't pass block, tough to give your quarterback enough time for the route to develop for you to really prove it. It is a complementary game. We all understand that. Philly fans understand that. But it's like, I have to say that he's a top 5 quarterback with a top 5 coach. If they are really that, well, then it's the best team in the history of the NFL. And I don't think anybody looks at Philly that way. They are very good. They were very dominant. They started 2-2. They started throwing less and running more, and they basically ran the table. One lost the rest of the way, and they bludgeoned people, except for the Rams, throughout the postseason. That is a really reasonable resume for a great team and a very good quarterback. It's tough for me to say that Jalen Hurts is better than Matt Stafford. It's just hard for me to do. Because when I watch them play and I see one guy sling it all over the field and the team's success is predicated on him slinging it all over the field, I believe that that guy is the better quarterback. Not the better runner, not even necessarily the better leader. But that's what I think Eagles fans miss in this conversation. It's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. It's a compliment to your organization that you can be that dominant with a very good quarterback. It is a compliment. It's not a knock on Hurts. He deserves all his money. Eagles fans should love him. Eagles fans should want to trade Jalen Hurts for no one. But you got to admit, if Howie Roseman got the phone call, hey, Justin Herbert for Jalen Hurts, does anyone actually think Howie Roseman would say no? Does anyone believe it? You'd say it. You'd say, well, Justin Herbert had 4 interceptions and he's got 2 losses in a playoff game. Okay. Does anyone really believe it? That trade is proposed. Herbert for Hurts. Who says no? Because I don't think Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan to go coach Jalen Hurts. I think most people who evaluate it, watch it, would say, yeah, he doesn't have the playoff success, but he also hasn't had the quality organization and line and receivers and defense and everything that Jalen Hurts has. And so maybe it's impossible for Jalen Hurts to be regarded as the best quarterback because he has such a super team around him. Oh, well, that's life. You still have a couple $100 million and a couple of Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl ring, and you can shut everybody up by continuing to win. So everyone, I think, is playing their role correctly here. I don't believe that they also have the best coach and the best quarterback and everything on their team is the best in the NFL. I think some of their elements are the best, and it props everything else up. Speaking of rankings, let's do it. For the sake of the exercise, top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL heading into the 2025 NFL season. Jalen Hurts. I said it and I mean it. People say, you got to give him more credit for winning the Super Bowl. I am. He was outside of my top 10 last year. Like, spoiler alert, he's ahead of Dak Prescott. He wasn't this time last season. Jalen Hurts, great leader, clutch, perfect for that team and that system, but not asked to do nearly as much for his team's success as the guys 9 through 1 on my list. The Bake Show. Baker Mayfield is the poster child for patience. We'll see what Bryce Young ends up being in Carolina, but Baker Mayfield, man, they haven't figured it out in Carolina. They haven't figured it out in Cleveland. This guy, the last 2 seasons, comfortably inside the top 10. He's first in passing touchdowns, second in passing yards, fourth in passer rating, and sixth in yards per attempt. Baker Mayfield, all the respect. Jared Goff, like Jalen Hurts, has a ton around him, no doubt about it. But doing it with 2 different franchises, with the Rams to a Super Bowl and now the Lions as perennial contenders year in and year out, matters. And last year, I mean, career highs in points per game, 33, completion percentage, passing touchdowns, passer rating, yards per attempt. And oh yeah, by the way, wins. Jared Goff's a stud, and he's playing up to the billing of being the number 1 overall pick. It's the best rookie season I've ever seen. Jaden Daniels is the guy on this list who at the end, that top 4 is just so ironclad. It's like Mount Rushmore. Hey, you know, we should do that as a sports radio hook. Mount Rushmore. Has anyone ever thought of that? But if there was a guy outside of the top 4 who could jump in, if Jaden Daniels builds on a rookie season with the 3rd down efficiency, the 4th down efficiency, the winning, the 1-score victories, if he takes that Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes type of leap, he's in the MVP conversation. He's in the top 4 conversation. Matt Stafford's been that dude for well over a decade. As soon as he leaves Detroit, he goes to the Rams. He gets better coaching. He gets a little better talent around him. He gets a better system, and he gets a ring. In the playoffs, he's been a stud. With McVay, he's been a stud. And this one is still a bit of the eye test. We'll see what the offensive line is for the Rams this year. Left tackle's already hurt. They've got some questions kind of across the board with Humphreys there. But at his age, he needs good protection. But if he gets good protection, there's really no one in the world that's better at throwing the football. Except for maybe my guy, Justin Herbert, who I think is very Matt Stafford-esque. And still, by the way, on the exact same career trajectory as Peyton Manning. Big year for Herbert with Harbaugh, with the running game, with arguably the best tackle duo outside of Philadelphia in the NFL. 500-plus pass attempts, 3 or fewer interceptions. Justin Herbert last year, Aaron Rodgers. Give him more weapons, which they did in the draft. The passing game produces even more. Justin Herbert, absolute stud, the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. This one I struggle with, but I'm giving it to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, statistically last year, him and Aaron Rodgers, only quarterbacks with more than 40 passing touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions. He was brilliant, but he didn't win the MVP to Josh Allen. Once you get into the top 4, I think we are dealing with parsing greatness among the guys in the postseason. And Lamar still has a losing record in the postseason, but he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Give him a ring, he jumps up on the list. Joe Burrow. I'm not going to knock him for his defense. Joe Burrow had a losing record in games where his team scored more than 30 points last year. It's an impossibility. He has a middle-of-the-road defense. He's the MVP of the league last year. His passer rating in losses was 108.2. Second highest passer rating in losses ever for a quarterback to lose 8 or more games. Joe Burrow, 3rd best quarterback in the league. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's very clearly Josh Allen. If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, it would be universally accepted that this guy was the best in the NFL. He's second to Mahomes in wins. He's second to Mahomes in passing yards. He's second to Mahomes in passing touchdowns in the last 5 seasons. This is your second best quarterback. This is your second best player in football, which frankly ruins the suspense for number 1. Mahomes is still on that Brady track through 8 seasons. He's still there. Double-digit win seasons, he's still on the track. The Super Bowls, he's still on the track. The regular season wins, he's ahead of him. The playoff wins, he's ahead of him. The conference titles, he's ahead of him. Super Bowls, he's even to him. Guy's going to play football for another 10-plus years, and that Brady conversation is going to start really picking up. Give him that explosive offense back with Spagnuolo's defense. He'll just add more to his trophy case. There's your top 10 quarterbacks heading in to this season. What a perfect list, by the way. I don't know how anyone could dispute anything on there, except apparently Philly fans.